Welcome to Hot Takes by H&H, where we discuss industry trends and topics impacting professional photographers. Today's topic, we are going to be discussing how to land more school contracts and keep the ones you already have. On our panel today, we have with us Lois Alberts from Spring, Texas, Rick Addy from Oxford, Mississippi, Sean Cantrell, School and Sports Program Lead. I'm already laughing. David Drum from H&H. He is the Executive Director of Global Impact. David, amazing the impact you're having on the entire globe, honestly.
One person at a time.
One person at a time, absolutely. For those of you who are just joining us on these episodes, David's real title will never be read. We will add a new one every episode. So
I actually don't have one.
That's right. All right, so a little background. Winning school contracts used to be about showing up, shaking hands, and offering a better deal than the last guy, but not anymore. Now you're competing with massive corporations, long-term relationships, and schools that just don't want the hassle of change, right? Everyone hates change, and you love the devil you know, so to speak. Okay, so even if you win a contract, keeping it's another battle, because let's face it, one mistake and you're out. So how do you make schools see the value beyond just price? We don't want to compete on price. That's a race to the bottom. And once you get in, what's the key to making sure you never lose that contract? So Lois, I'm going to drive the first question to you. Why do schools choose one photographer over another? What's the unspoken rule?
Well, of course, there are some schools that are just looking for some sort of kickbacks, and they want the perks that the photographer will give them. I can't compete with that, so I have never tried to do that. So I go into a school and I really start asking them questions. Where are their pain points? What's not working for them? Because they're trying to run a school, they're trying to educate kids. They don't need another thing to make the staff's life difficult. So I'm listening. I'm trying to listen and see where they've had problems with their photo day. And if you're a good listener and you can hear that, then hopefully you've got something in place that you can solve that problem for them. So that's usually been my greatest success, is to go in and talk to them about where they're having problems and how I can solve that problem. And that's how I usually am successful in getting a new contract.
Yeah, let me ask you to expand on that. When you say, like, hey, I don't want to compete on price, because that's what I'm hearing you say, right? Because you'll lose that battle. You're more focused on their pain point, right? Mm-hmm. Solution selling, so to speak. How do you convince them, right? Because everybody who goes in is going to say, no, not with us. That'll never happen. Is it your reputation? Is it, how do you? I do. We're a small
studio. We're not like some of these big guys. We have about 22 schools. So my reputation does precede me. We do get a lot of referrals, but we do go out and do cold calling as well. And I think they can sense that we know how to run an effective school photo day, and we're going to make their life easy. And then when they follow up with some of our existing clients, that's confirmed for them. And you know, I don't compete on price. I'm not going to compete on price. So I really talk to them about how I'm going to make their day easier, how I'm going to remind them I'm going to provide them with the communications they need, whether it's to put on their website. I'm going to walk them through the process. I help with the schedule. I don't want to leave the school to create the schedule for me, because then photo day may not go well. So I'm going to be very involved throughout the whole process. And I do think that they get a sense of, I can trust her.
Yeah, that's important. And that's the way you carry yourself, everything, right? The whole package.
But anyone can do it. You just have to think ahead, and you can't get into this business and not be a good planner. Volume, you have to be a planner.
I love that. That's perfect. Rick, Deep South, how are we doing things there? Good old boy network, you making bribes? How are we doing it?
That's all under the table.
Okay, sorry.
It just works.
I'm just peeling this back.
That's the legend anyway, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Straight what Lois is doing. Every one of our schools is part of our family. It's our family of schools. When they trust us, we booked a new school this year, and they called and they said, hey, we're going to set the picture date schedule, and we're going to do this and this, and we're going to run one every 20 minutes or whatever. And I'm like, no. I've been doing this 40 plus years. Just trust me.
Yeah.
I'm going to lead you through this. And she let me, thankfully. And it went so smooth. They were like, I don't know how this happened. We're through before lunch and so forth and so on. They just trust you.
Yeah.
As
and now
long
you become
as
the
you
trusted
go in,
advisor.
right. As long as you go in being the trusted person and with sincere business knowledge.
Yeah,
So
I think that's good and important. Sean, do you have insight into what other H&H customers, how they might receive this, or anecdotal stories that we've heard on our end?
Yeah, I would say you're absolutely speaking. What we're hearing here is what I see working best across the country. I think there has been, especially in the South, Rick, you're pretty apparent of this, is there has been a lot of getting schools by offering 1% more, 5% more on commissions. And the problem with that you have experienced and have had a great job fighting back on is now it's just a race to the bottom of you're working harder for less profit and giving away 30, 40, 50% commission in some places in the South. Like that's a hard business to run, right?
absolutely.
And that is, I would say, more prominent in the South than other parts of the country, but you've had great success at peeling that back and bringing that back into more healthier commission rates.
Correct.
I'm going to steal your thunder for a second, if that's okay. What have been some of those tools that you've used to help bring that into a more healthier business model for you?
Just being able to be accessible for them for their whole business. I mean, for their whole, whatever they need.
Yeah.
If they need photographers for sports days, that's a good swap out.
Yeah.
Of course, we offer them everything in the world. I mean, I've been doing this so long. I see when a school has a problem with whatever it would be, whether it's calendars or whatever, software, how do we get the images into our, not just into the yearbook, but also into the cafeteria or into the library or wherever. We're able to work with H&H, which is great, and teach them how to move those images in so everything flows better.
Well, and that's a great thing to do too, because you're solving other problems for them.
Right.
And when another company comes in and drops off their brochure, they may get an opportunity to talk to someone, but if the school knows everything you're doing and can say, are you going to do this for us? Are you going to do this for us? They don't want it. The other companies don't want to do that. They want to come to picture day and take home the profits and then see you again next year. So it's good to look for those other opportunities where you can provide solutions for people.
Yeah, and there's so many additional services other than the fall photo that you can provide a school. Right. Like you're talking about, there's the sports, there's the yearbooks, there's Santa and Christmas, there's the father-daughter dances. There's plenty of opportunities you can continue helping support the school and the needs of the school and the parents there. And I think those that are succeeding with the contracts that they've got are looking for all the services that can continue helping those schools succeed and saying, let me be the expert, let me be your resource. You have enough things to focus on what the schools and what the state governments are asking you to do in order to keep this education machine running. Let me help you with that by taking on some of these responsibilities for you.
And if the school has a need, like say proms are not as profitable as they used to be. And there was a period of time where we were like, do we really want to do the proms anymore? And then I thought, if I don't do the prom, then they're going to get someone else to do it, and that gives someone else a foot in the door.
Right.
I want to keep all the feet out of the doors.
Absolutely. I mean, I hear people say all the time, oh, this school's not as profitable, we'll probably let that one go this year. That principal that day is at that school. Next year, he's going to be at a better school.
Exactly.
They always move up. So remember that as you're going through.
That's good feedback. Dave, what do you have to add to this? Why would you choose one photographer over another?
Yeah, no, I think, the pattern that we're talking about so far is really about making the decision maker look good for choosing you, right? They're trusting you. That principal, that school administrator, that superintendent is choosing your business. And how do you make them look good? By taking care of all the people that they're responsible for. And that's a phenomenal strategy when you already have the business and you're looking to scale it. If you're a smaller business and you're really starting to get more contracts, it's harder to do that way. So if you're a smaller operation that's maybe has a school or two or 10 schools or contracts for any kind of volume photography, then it's about proving yourself. It's about being given the opportunity to do that work and prove that you're going to make that school administrator look good. In that case, then we hear a lot of frustration of the smaller organizations that they just can't get in the door. They can't get the trust to start with. And I think that's where taking the time to go to a school's website, look at their mission, vision, values, find out what is important to them, what's their theme for the year, and then bring back, look at what you do and say, here's how I'm going to help you with your mission, vision, values. Here's how I'm going to help you accomplish your theme. We can tie your theme of recognizing excellence into our pictures. We can tie in the core value of recognizing the value of every student into our picture day.
Right.
And if you start speaking their language, it changes the relationship from I'm a vendor and you should choose me because I'm awesome to look, I'm going to help you accomplish your goals. And it changes it. You're a team player, that's right.
But you're not just the vendor also. You're the photographer. And
Yes.
that's helped when I was growing years ago, and we're still growing that way. When they're looking at me, I'm not the salesperson that's going to El Paso next week or whatever.
Right.
I'm there. I am your local photographer.
Yes.
I mean,
and the
we
local,
are the-
I really believe, is so huge.
Right.
The large vertically integrated companies will never be able to present that same local stability and that care that they're talking to an owner, or in most cases an owner with most of our customers, the
Right.
ones
Right.
who are knocking on the doors.
Right.
They're talking to an employee who might find another job tomorrow.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's something we don't talk about enough is, look, that's a different relationship when you're talking with a local owner. And it also allows those schools to give back to a local business.
Well,
And
we
that's
get back
huge
to a
part of
single
it.
word, relationships.
That's it.
Right? It's
That's
all
it.
about relationship, and that's how you're driving it. Rick, so if you lost your biggest school contract today, how would you win it back?
Wait a year.
Just wait a
You'll
year.
get it right back. You'll get it right back. We take care of our, I mean, as I keep going back to, it's family. And literally, I've lost a school before, and we get them back within a year or two.
And in your opinion, why are you, I think I know the answer, but I want to hear you say it. Why are you getting them back in a year?
Because the other team's going to really mess them up.
Okay.
And most of the time, you're going to lose them to a professional salesperson that's there, or a team that comes through with a big company, and
Painted
they're
this
gone.
wonderful
Oh,
picture.
looks great, and here's all this money.
Yeah.
And we usually get them back within a year or two.
Yep.
And because they can't deliver on service.
Makes sense. Sean, if you were to lose your biggest customer at H&H, what would you do to win him back? How far would you go, Sean?
How
Because
far?
the executive director of Global Impact wants an answer.
One person at a time, right?
Yeah.
One person. That's that one person. Yeah, I would say that you need to, whether it's from a lab losing a studio, a photographer as a customer, or as a photographer losing a school as a customer, it hurts. Every single one hurts.
Personal.
Whether it's the biggest customer or the smallest one. It is personal because you make it personal, because you're passionate about it. But don't let that personal passion get conflicted with pride. Pick up the phone, go knock on the door, go talk to them. They're making a decision for an honest reason. They're a rational person, right? And they may have made that decision because they needed to have that one feature that you don't have, or they found that 50 cent less package that really is important to them that year. And they don't understand the impact and the trade-off of that, obviously. But having that debrief that, hey, I understand you made this decision and I want to support you and your goals, right? You have these goals and I want to support them in that. Help me understand where we fell short on that, because we want to be better as a company. There may be something we need to go work on. And oftentimes that's where David and I are in that space all the time, is what do we need to continue developing so we continue not only helping that particular customer grow, and oftentimes they come back. We've had a relationship just like that, Rick, where you were with the lab, you left for a little while because we didn't have certain features and capabilities.
Oh, burn, Rick.
And then he came back because we had that relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. That was one of the, I would say that was one of the pivotal times in my career, actually. And I really treasured that that candor and kindness that Rick showed us by saying, look, this is the part of business we're going to send to you. This is the part of business we know you're trying, but you're not there for what I need for my business. But I'm going to be watching. I remember the day when you came back and you said, you get it. That was the phrase you used, was you get it. And that phrase, I think I've used 100 times since then with our staff, is when the school feels like you get it, when the photographer feels like the lab gets it, it's a different relationship. It's not a vendor relationship. It's an understanding of under the surface of not what the agreement says, but what are those other things that need to happen just because you're in the business together.
Yeah, I think the moral of this story right here, right, on both sides of the equation is listen to your customers,
Absolutely.
whoever they are.
Because they'll tell you, you
Not all,
hope,
right,
you
you
pray
hope.
that they'll give you what you need to grow because, even when someone leaves because of broken trust, because of something that didn't go well, it is hard to swallow, but it's the greatest gift when someone will tell you honestly what you need to be better to serve them better.
And another lesson I've learned in regards to this issue is we are working with our clients, and maybe sometimes they're long-term clients, and so we get used to doing things with them a certain way, and we're not asking questions ahead of time just because it's comfortable. We know how we're doing things. We know what we think. We know what they want, but maybe there's been some change, and they have some new need that we're not even aware of.
Absolutely.
And because we haven't discussed it with them, they don't know we can do it.
Yeah.
So I did lose a school about 3 years ago. Because they thought we couldn't do sports photos. I don't really want to do sports photos, but they thought we couldn't do it. So they went with somebody that they said could do everything. And I was like, why didn't you ask me? But then I thought, why didn't I ask them what else they need?
Yeah.
But then in that fall, when they left us in the fall of 2022, I stayed in touch with them. And by October, they were already asking us to come back. We finished out the year for them because
That's
the other
amazing.
company wasn't. When you're working with the school, you're working with so many, you're not just working with the yearbook advisor. You might be working with the administration because they need images for their computer system, and you're working with other departments. So if another company comes in, that first year is a really good opportunity for them to mess up because they maybe haven't found out who all the players are and what all the needs are.
Yes.
Right.
So they may drop the ball. Maybe they'll figure it out eventually, but that first year is the opportunity for you to find where they've dropped the ball.
So
Because you
Lois,
know all the people.
I feel like when you first get word that you're losing something to any other competitor, but particularly a large vertically integrated one, how you respond, that's an important moment right there. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you respond?
The gentleman who made the call to me, he was very apologetic. He didn't want to switch. It was their headmaster who said, hey, we're going to go with this other company. I knew immediately that company was not going to be able to do the job, everything that we did. And I just told him, Wade, I understand. I'll stay in touch with you. I'm disappointed, but I'll stay in touch with you. And I don't want you to feel uncomfortable to come back to me.
Yes.
There it is.
Because sometimes people do feel that way. I've let them go. I've maybe upset them. And now I'm like a dog with my tail between my legs. I don't want to go back and ask them to come back. And I just told them, don't be afraid to come back. I hope it works out. But if it doesn't, I'm here for you and we'll figure it out.
The term I like to use with that is degrade gracefully, right? So it's a programming term. When things go sideways, right, the whole program shouldn't come crashing down, which would be your relationship with them. Like, I get it, we're going separate ways, but maintain that relationship. I think that's probably really good advice
And
here.
when we delivered the first set of packages after we took him back, I had my Greg, our lead photographer, deliver. And he said that man almost jumped in his arms and hugged him. He was so happy to have him back.
Yes.
Yeah, it worked.
All right, Sean,
Yeah.
multiple choice question here. Pick your poison. What's the most effective or most useless thing you've ever done to win an account?
Well, useless thing to win an account. I don't know if
We
I've ever
can't
won
talk
an
about the
account
night you did karaoke. We don't. Nobody cares.
Which night?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be the way for me to lose this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be useless. That would put that in useless category. The effective thing is, as fast as you can. I'm speaking from a lab perspective.
This is the most effective.
Is the most effective.
right.
As fast as you can, get face to face with them, and to understand what's important to them. How are they operating? So what are the discovery, right? What are the problems that they're really being presented with? And then you can start talking about how you can help them achieve those goals. But if you're trying to do that pen pal style via emails, that's I would put in the useless category.
Nice.
More useless.
Very nice.
Yeah.
David, what would be the most effective or most useless thing you've done to win a contract?
Well, taking that off the table because that's H&H like foundational stuff.
Yeah.
You get face to face as fast.
Give me
as you
useless.
can.
What have you done? You've been at this a lot. How many years have you been doing this?
30
at H&H?
years.
30 years.
30 years.
Surely when you were starting out,
Oh,
you
yeah.
did some stupid shit.
I think probably one of the biggest ones is thinking you know all the details, even when someone is telling you this is what's important to us, thinking that's the list.
Right.
It's never the list.
No.
There's always more
Not being
that
smart enough to dig under.
it's digging under. It's
Just reading between the lines.
Reading between the lines. It's also setting aside capacity for those things that they take for granted that everyone does. That you may not. I mean, we've been in business 55 years as a company. Every single new decent sized customer we work with always has something that they're like, what do you mean you don't do 6 by 8 1/4 classroom group composites bound in a binder?
Everybody wants that.
And you're like, well, we do an 8 by 10. Would that work? You know, and so there's just always things that pop up that they take for granted, and if you don't have in your mind that that's going to happen, it may happen 3, 4, 5 times. You can get demoralized, you can get frustrated, your team can get frustrated, they get frustrated, and it starts driving a wedge, and they start doubting whether you want to make a move or not. And I think the same thing happens with any significant size agreement. There's just things that are going to pop up, and you can't underestimate those.
I love that. It's so true. Lois, most effective or most useless?
Well, the most useless was going to be, my comment was going to be sending out broadcast emails. They're not really going to respond to it. I haven't had any success. For me, the most useful is just getting out there, making phone calls. Making in-person visits, and not just once. You have to. I have one school, a school that's been with me for 23 years now. I called on them for 4 years.
Yes.
I made 2 visits every semester.
Before
just
you
quick,
won the-
before I won it. And then I was top of mind when they needed something. Just being persistent.
The word is persistence, and I wanted to hammer that home because I think I want to pull it back to entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs in general do not understand that success comes from continued persistence, right? Like any successful entrepreneur, and I'd imagine all of us in this room would agree that we've been told no many more times than we've been told yes, right? But I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially photographers, become very disenfranchised when they get told no. They personalize that, they make it about them, and it's like, no, guys, this is just part of the journey.
Right.
The no's are part of the journey to yes.
And one of the things I do, and it's easy now because we have the internet and schools have websites. Before I make a cold call, I'll usually mine that website because you never know at any school who's the decision maker. It might be the yearbook advisor, it might be the school secretary, it might be the PTO moms. So I will make some phone calls ahead of time and try to talk to as many of those people as I can, even if they're not the decision maker. But if I can get one snippet of information from each of them, then when I make that cold call or that visit, that's really great ammunition to turn it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, knowledge is power. Rick, how about yourself?
The one thing, what you just said, is finding out who is actually the decision maker, because it's
Different at every
principal,
school.
or it's assistant principal, or it's the bookkeeper. We've got a whole set of schools where it's the bookkeeper at every school, and you just got to figure that one out and solve their problems. Even if other people have other issues also, you've got to understand theirs, but the decision maker is who you need to take care of at all times.
I've been in sales roles throughout my career, and we always had to figure out how to get to power. Because if you're sitting there discussing these big decisions with somebody who doesn't have the power to make it, everybody's wasting their time, right? And you'll never get the right answer. Okay, David, what is the one thing most photographers ignore that you think could help them lock in contracts for years?
So locking contracts for years, I think, is we all, after a while, take the business we have for granted.
Yes.
In some way. And yes, it's nonstop. Yes, it can be exhausting. Yes, you just want to stop for a minute. But you always have to be calling on your customers, taking time to listen, asking genuine questions. We all have been to the restaurant where the manager walks by and says, "Is everything perfect?" And you're like, you don't really want to know the answer to that question.
You're doing a drive-by.
Right. Versus the person that says, "How are we taking care of you?" And really listens. And so I think they maintain the contract for years is not taking people for granted by taking time after every season, checking in throughout the season, and really taking time to debrief that and get face to face and find out what's important and what's changed.
Yeah. Lois, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think I can speak to this one well because we have, we're small, but we've got contracts. We've got 2 schools that have been with us for 23 years. We've got a number of schools that have been with us for more than 15 years. And I think what's helped us in that regard is the very first school contract we ever got, we lost it after the first year, and it made me so angry. And I told my husband, who's my partner, I said, I'm never letting this happen again. How are we going to prevent this? And we decided we were going to adopt this philosophy. We're not just going to be their photographer. We want to find a way to become a part of the school community so that we're not just taking the profit from the fall photos and bye, we'll see you next fall. So we look for other things to do. And this may work for some studios, it may not work for others. But we have gone into some of our schools, we photographed their annual gala for free. That's value for them, but it's been great for us because we get to know all the key people.
Absolutely.
The big fundraising, the big donors. We have gone in, we've asked the yearbook advisor, can we come in and teach a little photo safari to the yearbook photographers? Can we just take them around campus and teach them how to do better sports photos, how to photograph in the gym light? So the big companies aren't going to come in and do that.
Right.
And we just do those things during our slow times. So of course, we're not doing it during peak season. So we look for ways to become a part of the community, and so that when that other person comes and knocks on the door, they're going to go like, they're not going to do these things that Lois and Greg do for us.
Yeah, it's all the intangibles, right?
And then great customer service.
Yep.
Schools are happy if their parents aren't calling them to complain
Yeah.
that they haven't heard from the photographer.
Absolutely. Greg?
She's always taking my answers. Customer service is it.
Yeah.
We literally take care of everybody. I mean, the customer service has got to be dead on. I mean, all the time. And when you answer that phone, it's not Addy Photography. It's, hey, Addy Photography, this is Rick. May I help you? Who?
Right.
This is a real person.
Yeah.
We're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
And again, back to the family. We take care of every school, whether it's the soccer team that just won the championship and they need a couple of $100 to get some rings, you know, this girl can't buy her own ring, or whatever it is. You're just always in the community, and they know they can ask you for anything. Might not can provide it, but you can help them find the right place.
Yep. I don't know if you guys are listening or getting it. It's the same thing from everybody, no matter what question we ask, right?
Yeah.
It's communication, relationships, right, and customer service, which when you're doing that, any business, any genre, you're going to be successful long term. And I think a lot of people miss out on that. Sean, you're wrapping this up for us. What's the one thing most photographers ignore?
Yeah.
You can't steal Rick's answer, who stole
Stole
Lois's
David's
answer.
Who stole David's answer?
Yeah.
I mean, so what value can I add besides just continuing to underscore the importance of the presence, consistent presence in school? The photographers that succeed in growing their business with long-term relationships, the ones when I look across the country, they get it and they keep it those first few years because they're providing consistent quality, right? They're not making so many mistakes that the school is getting a lot of angry parent phone calls. That's how you lose a school really quick,
Yep.
right? But then to move beyond that, how you keep that for 23 years, that happens to a lot of folks, whether you're wanting to grow your business or just maintain a certain size, right? Is you're in the schools all the time, whether it's to serve them with photography skills, with classes and education skills, just dropping off some cookies.
We do that.
You got it.
I talk to so many studios that in December or in January, they're not shooting because they just got done, right? They're just getting back to school, but they're still finding a reason to show up to their schools to check in, to say, hey, we just want to make sure everything's okay. How are we serving you? Here's some cookies. Here's a Starbucks gift card. And it's not that they're bribing or buying. They're just they're showing their appreciation for that business with gifts and or service or time. But having that consistent presence in the school is absolutely key.
Yeah, and one of the things I do, even though we live in Houston and it's a big market, most of my schools are within 10 miles. I don't drop ship the packages to the school.
Absolutely.
They all come to me because that's one more opportunity for me to go by the school and hand deliver everything. First of all, I get to make sure everything's right, which it almost 99% of the time is. But then I get to hand deliver it to the customer and they see me again.
Yep.
Even
Presence.
flyers. I mean, you're able to go in and we explain to the secretaries, don't forget to do this and this and this. Every time I finish with a photograph for doing schools, on the way back to the office, I'm going to stop by 2 or 3 schools just to say hi.
Nice.
Hey,
Yep.
Is there anything we can do for you?
Yeah, stay top of mind,
And,
right?
I'm probably only seeing the secretary, and that's fine. But
But
she
she's the
sees-
gatekeeper.
But she's the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
She's the gatekeeper.
And she will tell them, hey, Rick was by, you know.
I really like that, Rick. You hope that's what she's saying.
That's it. Yes.
Yep.
All right, everybody, that is a wrap for today's show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you to our panelists for all their knowledge and expertise, and we will see you on the next episode.